I need to unmute. This computer is not going to help me tonight. Oh, there's the button. That's right. Okay.
Couple places, but no rain yet, so nice.
Yeah, that's great. Good.
I really want to know as much as you know about what's happening there and all the people were talking about a subdivision and all that stuff. Oh my God.
I haven't heard about this.
Not by the school, but maybe by the baseball field.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
Emily probably knows more.
Emily. Oh, okay. Hi, Emily.
Well, we can have we'll have a little update on the McKay, and maybe other people can chime in too.
Hello, Bob and Laura, or Bob. I don't see Laura.
She's running around.
Right here.
There she is.
Helping with setup first stuff, yeah. Getting dinner ready.
All right, I'm going dark. Bye.
Somebody else is joining. Okay, we'll get started in just a couple of minutes.
Maybe somebody up in Neyland or something.
Michael, want to remind people about going dark?
About what?
About going dark?
Yeah,
Mute, no video.
here's Hank.
Must have a bigger screen. How do you make your screen bigger so you see more people?
Hi, Hank.
Hi,
Hey,
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Humboldt Trails Council Annual Meeting. I'm expecting more of a crowd than is currently here, and I'm hoping it just means that people are in the process of logging in. So the first thing I wanted to do was, and you probably got information about this in the letter that I sent last night or this morning, but I'm just trying to uncrowd the fields. So So basically what I'm asking people to do, if you're not a presenter, if you could go to the upper corner of your picture on the Zoom screen, not the upper corner that says view, but the upper corner of your screen, and there should be 3 dots there. And if you click on those 3 dots, you get a drop-down menu, and you would click on Hide Self View. Right now, what we see is about 10 faces, photos, and about 10 black screens with names attached to them. And what I want to do is eliminate the black screens. So instead of people stopping their video, it's helpful if you do what I just mentioned. Go to the corner of your picture on the Zoom screen and click on the 3 dots. In the drop-down menu, hit on Hide Self View. And then you'll be able to see us and hear us, but we won't be able to see you. It would also help if you would turn off your audio at the same time. And therefore, what we should be able to see, if you're under gallery view, is you'll only see about 8 or 10 people who are their presenters for the evening.
I have no
And one
idea.
of the important controls is whether you are on gallery view or on speaker view. And at this point, and you control that by going to the upper right-hand corner of the whole screen, not just your photograph. And if you go to the upper right-hand corner of the screen and you click on view, you have a choice of speaker view or gallery view. And at this point, I'm going to recommend that you select gallery view. And later in the program, I'll recommend that you select speaker view. And when it's speaker view, then you'll just see the one person who is presenting at the time. At this point, I think I'll explain that one more time so we can get more of the black screens missing. If you can go to the upper right-hand corner of your video, of your picture, and click on the 3 dots.
There's no 3 dots there.
No 3 dots?
Not
Right,
on mine.
right next to the mute button?
I'm not seeing it. Let me go elsewhere.
I had to turn my video on for a minute while I did it for the thing, for the dots to show up.
I have to just tap the screen and then it shows up for a minute, but mine's up on the top, not the bottom.
Bruce, you're on an iPad?
Yes,
Yeah, so for the iPads, I bet that's
all
correct.
on the top.
Let's see. No dots. Where else could it be?
Tap it.
I know this is not a touch screen computer.
Not a touch screen.
Oh.
On mine, you have to go to your picture in the gallery, and then you see the 3 dots in the corner of your own picture.
Well, I went there, but there's no dots, so I'm going elsewhere. Right, yeah.
Okay. So at this point, I'd like to go ahead and introduce the people who will be presenting. And one person I don't see who should have their video on is Renee, the VPS coordinator. So if Renee can make turn her video on so we can see her. but the introductions. Most of the presenters this evening are board members. Oh, another person whose video I don't see is Emily Sinkhorn, and she's one of the presenters. Okay, so two presenters tonight, Emily Sinkhorn, who's going to talk about trail updates. Renee Thibodeau is the VTS coordinator, and she actually has a pre-recorded video that will be showing during the evening. Board members, Steve Jones,
Aye.
Karina Johnson,
Aye.
Hemset Moore,
No.
Stevie Luther,
Hello.
Bruce Sylvie.
Here.
I'm Michael Proul, and the last board member that I'll introduce tonight is Karen Underwood, who has been vice president and is currently a secretary.
Yeah, promotion. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Humboldt Trails Council wishes to acknowledge that we are walking in the footsteps of the indigenous peoples who lived on this land for thousands of years, and that we are grateful for their spirit. I will now pass the screen to Steve Jones.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen with you.
And at this point, people could switch to speaker view.
Okay, for the past, 3 months or so, we've been working with Intermedia down in Fortuna to revamp, redesign, rebuild our website. And I hope you all have logged into it recently. They did a really great job on it. We have some familiar pictures, some new features. For instance, we have a calendar now that shows upcoming events like the work days. That calendar will also, if you click on the event, will also have a fair amount of detail on it, including the organizers' information, and of course the time and date, but also a map of where the meetup points are, Google Maps. So that's pretty exciting. So we'll be updating that with work days and other relevant events that trail users may be interested in. It's some of the other features that we have are now we have a linked Instagram feed, which we'll try and add content to on a very regular basis. This will show trails and trail users, and then the occasional political statement. We also have e-newsletters, which I would guess a lot of you are on the subscriber list. We have about 1,000 subscribers, and we put out the e-newsletters, maybe 5 or 6 times a year. We have a contract with RCAA to make up these newsletters and send them out. If you're on the list, you might also get announcements, calls to actions on a just as needed basis. So on the newsletter page, we actually have posted the newsletter. Here it is. And we get, I think about 1/3 of the people that we emailed a newsletter link to open it up. So that's pretty good. So when you get something from us, go ahead and open it up and click on it and read it. And if you have any comments, we'll have links to where you can make comments as well. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter, you can subscribe. There's a little click here to subscribe. And if you want to download it for your reading later, you can download it as well to your desktop. So that's our new website. That's our new e-newsletters format. And if anyone has any questions or comments on this, there will be a period towards the end of the meeting for that. You can also use the chat function in your Zoom screen to ask a question. And now I will turn the screen back over to Karen for our advocacy work.
Thank you, Steve. And I'm going to open, oops, I did it wrong. Gotta stop, start over. Is it there?
Yep.
Yay. I'm going to report on our advocacy committee. The Humboldt Trails Council envisions a well-maintained network of accessible community pathways traveled by walkers and riders of all abilities, ages, and means in the pursuit of unfettered kinetic joy. We are advocates, educators, and coordinators working to enhance the county's active transportation and recreation options, community well-being, economic vitality, visitor captivation, and appreciation of open space. The Advocacy Committee is the voice of the Humboldt Trail Council. We speak on behalf of the council at events and meetings, on the street, on the trail, and in the mail. This committee holds monthly meetings to concentrate on trail issues. The core group includes Karen Underwood, Karina Johnson, Michael Pruhl, and Bruce Sylvie. Stevie Luther is a recent addition to our group. Our trail success depends not just on the bodies that are on the trail, but also with the bodies working behind the scenes as well. In the past, we met monthly in person to advance our plans. Lately, we have moved our meetings outdoors and visited trail sites, always appropriately spaced and masked when we get close for discussion. Meeting on the trail to discuss trails has added energy and enjoyment to our meetings. And some other new members. Board members' interest and expertise in various areas has been invaluable. Frequently, other board members will join in with issues. Kemset Moore helped us this year by attending the many 101 Broadway corridor meetings. Our aim there was to make sure a bypass road or couplet road was not put in adjacent to the Eureka Waterfront Trail, and I'm happy to report that that is the case. We report back to the full board at our general meetings each month and provide a review of that month's accomplishments. During the month, we communicate to the board on items that come up with a short timeline. Often other board members alert us to items and actions that need a response or a body present. Our focus is trail advocacy issues. Developing trails in Humboldt County is very important to our citizens. Trail use across our county is up 75%, in our country is up 75% over last year. Since the pandemic began, our county residents have flocked to the outdoors. Spending time outside is one of the safest things we can do. People are seeking out spaces near their homes to be active at a safe physical distance, and trails have proven the draw. We attend public meetings and events, often speak on behalf of the Humboldt Trail Council at these meetings in support of the trail development and maintenance. This year, we have attended many meetings and spoken many times, and this is just a sample at Board of Supervisor, North Coast Rail Authority, Humboldt County Association of Governments, City Council meetings, Harbor Bay Working Group, Eureka Broadway Multimodal Corridor Plan, the Coalition for Responsible Transportation Priorities, Tuna Sunrise Rotary. We also write letters. Support, just another sample of what we've done this year, support letters to Congress for Connecting America's Active Transportation System Act. This is the funding that really is behind our state level funding. So it's important to start right at the top to get that funding going for trails. To Senator McGuire's office, supporting rail banking of the NCRA, the North Coast Rail Authority right away. A letter to the National Park System Advisory Board encouraging the designation of Lanphier and Malal Dunes for addition to the list as national natural landmarks. A letter to HCOG commenting on the Adopt a Trail program. A comment letter to the County Planning and Building Department on the North McKay Ranch Subdivision Draft Environmental Impact Report. If you can say these names, you can understand them. These are probably the most important letters we write. This is helping the cities and the county get funding to build trails. So wrote a couple of letters to the city of Arcata, one for the Annie and Mary Connectivity Project. This is for them to get grant funding. Carlson Park Mad River Access Project, we wrote a letter of support. City of Eureka for their Beta Zoo Trail. Recently, the city of Rio Del for their new proposed Eel River Trail, and the Broadway Corridor Project application by District 1 staff for a 2020 SHOP grant for the, again, for the 101 Broadway corridor. Newspapers and Facebook. We write letters and articles for the various news outlets regarding and supporting trail development. Post timely information on our Facebook page about trail development, meetings to attend, and calls to action. Most recently supporting Measure A in Arcata. Contribute articles to our own e-newsletter that comes out 4 to 6 times a year. And another plug for that, if you haven't signed up for this, please visit our webpage at humtrails.org. And now you know exactly where to do that. Our committee works at building relationships with local and distant decision makers to further our mutual goals. We like to help folks in the various jurisdictions know what Humboldt Trail Council can do to help them support their trails and active transportation programs and work on connecting the regional trail network. We strive to make it easy for them to contact us when they need a letter or a speaker at a meeting in support of trail development. We're always learning. Last year, 3 of our advocacy members attended a NORCAN advocacy workshop that was very helpful. We join in or view Rails to Trail Conservancy webinars regarding trail issues and training. Those are free for anyone. We also follow Intertwine, a coalition of over 100 organizations in the Portland area who work together to preserve and nurture a healthy regional system of parks, trails, and natural areas. We strive to keep on top of trail needs on our own. There is currently a gap section in the Eureka Waterfront Trail between C Street and on past the Adorni Center to the Samoa Bridge. That is confusing. It is a very confusing section for trail users. And we are working with the city of Eureka, specifically Robin Prasker, to improve the routing and signing of this section. The hands of the Humboldt Trail Council is the volunteer trail stewards led by our remarkable coordinators. All our board members advocate for our volunteer workers. Members from our committee have recruited workers at HSU Volunteer and Career Days. Maintenance of trails in this county is dominated by volunteers, and recruiting and educating the public is a continuing priority for the board. Most recently, we have joined this campaign called Trail Moments, and you may see these signs out on our trails in the north part of the county. This is a Rails to Trails Conservancy campaign. They want to capture trail moments, moments of joy, moments of solitude, moments for exercise and self-care. They hope these stories, your stories, will inspire others to explore trails and the outdoors close to home while helping our local leaders understand how important trails are to the health and well-being of our communities. We have posted these signs on the Hammond Trail, the Arcata Trails, and the Eureka Waterfront Trails. Hashtag Trail Moments, and please share your trail stories. Supporting the final 4 miles, this is our follow-up, which we do. We're continually following up on trails. Supporting the final 4 miles of the Humboldt Bay Trail between Eureka and Arcata, supporting Senator McGuire's office regarding the rail banking of the northern section of the Great Redwood Trail, following up on the 1 mile section of trail south of Eureka that will be added to the Eureka Waterfront Trail. This will be connecting Hickshari Trail to Humboldt Hill, hopefully to be done next summer. And that will really offer the residents of Humboldt Hill a safe route to Eureka by bike or foot. Persevering with the North Coast Rail Authority for rail banking the northern section of the rail right-of-way, again, north of Hopland, and following the Great River Trail legislation as it slowly winds its way through the maze in Sacramento. Our committee persists along, guided by the transformative power of trails. We encourage their use and work to make them more accessible and safe for all trail users. We're looking for more trail advocates to join our effort. Please consider joining us. We still have relationships to build, letters to write, meetings to attend, actions to do, and trails to explore. Michael, I think the screen goes to you now.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Wait, I'm there.
Okay, well, the board obviously is the one that has the ultimate decision-making power, but you can see that the work gets done in the committees. So those are the reports from the Community Engagement Committee and the Advocacy Committee where things get done. The other thing that gets done routinely is our VTS program, Volunteer Trail Stewards. And these are the people who do the regular, usually monthly, work days on several local trails in Humboldt County. And this coordinator is currently Renee Thibodeau, and she has a recorded presentation that I will now share with you.
Hi, I'm Renee and I'm the coordinator for the Volunteer Trail Stewards, here with a report on the accomplishments of the VTS in 2020. We started 2020 with a meeting of the trail coordinators hosted by Reese. I offer my sincere thanks to all the support from Reese for this year. The meeting was an opportunity for everyone to meet and discuss trail priorities, make some decisions regarding the grant from the Humboldt Bay Trail Fund. We managed to acquire some new tools and supplies, as well as some new volunteer recognition items, including new Trail Stewards hats. Trail work and monthly work days were progressing nicely in 2020 until March, when COVID-19 reached into our corner of the world and the county issued shelter-in-place orders. I don't know if you remember how beautiful the weather was in April, and the trails were experiencing very high use. On most of the trails, especially along the Humboldt Bay Trail, the VTS were asked not to do any trail work to allow for proper social distancing. By June, though, with additional guidelines in place, including group size limits and wearing masks, VTS were cleared to begin both individual work and most work days again. The volunteers really showed up for us, and most work days resumed in June, July, or by August. Wanda Naylor, coordinator for the Hickshari Trail for 4.5 years, decided to step down in June. She continues to volunteer her time on the Hickshari Trail, but with more flexibility in her schedule. And she deserves a huge thanks for all her time and energy. Mark Freitas, longtime Hickshari volunteer, stepped up as the new coordinator and is doing an outstanding job, along with the dedicated Hickshari crew, of keeping the trail looking beautiful. One of the most fantastic things about 2020 is that it marks 10 years of volunteer trail stewards in Humboldt County. I'd like to offer another huge thank you to Stacy Becker, who has been coordinating the Hammond Trail since that first training in July of 2010. The Hammond Trail restarted its monthly work days in August with a small scale and socially distanced celebration of that anniversary. A lot of trail work was accomplished that day, and they've been continuing their work days since then. We do still hope to celebrate the 10-year anniversary, or maybe 11 years, and all of the incredible VTS volunteers who do such great work. Although workday events were canceled for 3 of the first 6 months of 2020, our volunteer hours given are only down by a small amount, thanks to all the time that dedicated volunteers have given outside of the group events. Volunteer Trail Stewards' goal for the rest of 2020 is to continue to build that volunteer base, with new trail sections developing and hopefully coming online in 2021. We'll need more dedicated volunteers and coordinators to help us out. So won't you please join us? Thank you.
Okay, so that's our report from Renee Thibodeau. With that, I will pass it on to the next person. Stevie will talk about the racial equity statement that we've recently published. Excuse me. Chemset is waving to me. I did that wrong. The next report is Chemset Moore, our treasurer, talking about the fiscal report. Thank you, Chemset.
Hi, I'm Chemset Moore, and I'm the treasurer of Humboldt Trails Council, and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, there we go. I'm going to present the 2020 Annual Meeting Treasurers Report. It's going to be in 2 parts. The first part of my report is going over the fiscal highlights, and the second part will be what we hope to do financially in 2021. So first, I want to thank everyone in the community for the financial support they've given us in the past year. It has been overwhelming and outstanding. In particular, we would like to thank Humboldt Roller Derby, which was a really fun event, Cliff Berkowitz, the Fortuna Senior Hiking Center, and the entire Keith McClogry family. One person who works behind the scenes is Elaine Astro, who provides funding for supplying the tools that are in the bike repair stations on the Eureka Waterfront Trail. And I thank her for her support. She pays for those tools. Anchored by very generous donations from the Keith McClogry family and the Fortuna Senior Hiking Group, the Humboldt Trails Council has set up a restricted fund that will be used for the maintenance and an eventual replacement of a bench on the Hammond Trail in memory of Keith McClogry. Keith is the gentleman sitting on the boulder wearing a white hat and a blue shirt. Keith died in August of 2019. He was a stalwart VTS worker and an avid hiker, and his family wants to memorialize in his memory a bench on the Hammond Trail. So working with our BTS coordinator, Stacy Becker, and the County of Humboldt, there is an existing bench on the Hammond Trail that the Humboldt Trails Council will take on the care and maintenance of, and eventual replacement when necessary. And the McClogry family will be placing a plaque on that bench in Keith's honor. One of the things that you hear more about in this evening's presentation, not my talk, but a presentation, is we provided financial support for the 2020 Virtual Trail Summit. And that was a learning experience. We were happy to do it, and there will be more about that 2021 Trail Summit in my presentation later. As of September 30th of this year, the Humboldt Trails Council has a balance of $28,146 with Redwood Capital Bank. So the next part of my presentation is, what are we going to do in 2021? And I'm going to do it in a series of colorful pie charts. The first two pie charts, one will be revenue, the next will be expenses, and then there'll be pie charts breaking down the expenses. Revenue. Three main funding streams. One of the things that's important to notice that we're not planning on any in-person fundraisers for 2021. The big green section at the bottom is our funding that comes from the cities of Arcata and Eureka through memorandums of understanding. And these are agreements between the Humboldt Trails Council, signed by Michael Pearl, and the cities of Arcata and Eureka, and it's what the cities will provide and what commitments Humboldt Trail Council provides in terms of hours and insurance. The Humboldt Bay Trail Fund grant is a 3-year cycle grant, and we'll be using this grant money. I'll show it up in the expenses. Under the individual and business donations, those are those kind people who out of the goodness of their hearts just give us money. Also, there is a fundraising activity called Amazon Smile, and people who choose to can, I'm not sure how it works, but you can go through Amazon. A part of your Amazon purchase then comes back to us in a monthly donation. So thank you very much for doing that.
Kim said, I would just add one thing.
Sure.
We now also have a memo of understanding with the county of Humboldt. So
Oh, yes, we do. Please
that's
excuse.
partly what that revenue is based on.
Please excuse me, Hank. I'm sorry. Expenses basically break down into 3 components: volunteer trail steward support, outreach, and administration. So here we get more fine details here. For volunteer trail stewards, a good portion of our expenses goes to pay a salary for Renee and some expenses for her. And then we also use our funds to support the volunteer trail stewards through purchasing items like shiny little pins or hats, food, COVID supplies, and hopefully in 2021, a volunteer in-person recognition event, which would be really wonderful and appreciated. Under administrative expenses, you can see that our biggest administrative expense is insurance. And that is one of the requirements in the MOUs, is that the Humboldt Trails Council provides insurance for our VTS. Our bookkeeper is Sid Noyes, CPA in Henderson Center. And our meeting expenses, we have allocated funding for meeting expenses. However, we could still be doing Zoom meetings. We'll see. Let's see. Oh, for insurance, our insurance provider, just in case you're interested, is the Nonprofit Insurance Alliance. For board expenses, one of the things we hope to move into is taking some training through NORCAN, and that's the Northern California Association of Nonprofits. And that would include classes in training in grant writing, board development, and equity alliance. And the miscellaneous funds include post office, things like that. Under outreach expenses, we have the e-newsletter, which is edited and produced by the Redwood Community Action Agency, with a grateful thanks to them. And our website, Pintermedia, Steve showed our lovely new website. And then we are going to be, the Humboldt Trails Council, will be putting on the 2021 Trail Summit. At this point in time, we've got a venue reserved, but we'll see what happens on that. And finally, thank you very much. And if there's any questions, there'll be a time for questions and answers at the end of the meeting. I'd like to introduce Stevie, who will present on our racial equality statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Kemset. Hello, I'm Stevie Luther. I'm a board member of the Humboldt Trails Council. So 2020 has been quite the year, to vastly understate it. And one of the most momentous events has been the protests across the nation for racial justice after the murder of George Floyd. And as a nonprofit whose mission is to advance the use and benefit of trails for all people, we felt that at a minimum, it was necessary to acknowledge that there is a social justice and equity component to trail work. So to that end, in June, our board began discussing actions the Humboldt Trails Council could take in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. I authored a statement in collaboration with the board, and we published that recently in the September e-newsletter. We wanted to both express our solidarity, but also be able to express actionable steps that we could take. So one of the elements is that the HTC has a 5-year strategic plan from 2018 to 2023, which had as its goal supporting diverse users and trail experiences in Humboldt County. The goal there is to partner with groups who work directly with people of color, the disabled community, seniors, women, the LGBTQ community, and youth. And HTC would like to target working with those groups more in the future. Things we have done as members have NORCAN trainings on racial equity, and hope to attend more of those. We would also welcome more diverse members onto our board. You'll also notice that the Trail Moments signs had some that were in Spanish, which is great, and we'd love to see doing more of that. We also just wanted to acknowledge, as Karen did at the start of this meeting, Indigenous people and looking at trail development in the county and grand visions like the Great Redwood Trail, just starting from a point of acknowledging that that is the land of Indigenous people, and that needs to be part of the planning effort. Part of the statement says, our efforts today must not only be rooted in a commitment to environmental stewardship and healthy communities, but a social consciousness that demands fairness and who benefits from a robust trail system. So we look forward to continuing to work in this area and welcome any input from our members. Thank you. And I will now pass it on to Bruce to talk about the Trail Summit.
Okay, thanks, Stevie. So just a quick report about our last very first annual Humboldt Trails Summit that we had on the National Trail Day, which is the first Saturday in June, and it was on June 6th. So we had 124 Zoom people join, plus people on YouTube and Facebook, and some people watched on Access Channel 12, which it's apparently still playing that if you want to watch it. So we got about 35 questions from the audience we tried to answer. We had really positive evaluations, about 96% positive. I think that was primarily due to our 3 stars. Emily Sinkhorn emceed and did a fantastic job. And Hank Seaman did a great job on our local updates on all our trails. And then we got Senator McGuire to talk about the Great Redwood Trail and the progress they were making. And since that, this was in June, in July, they hired Charles Montaigne, who's a national expert on rail banking and attorney, and he's helping them right now try and secure the corridor between Humboldt Bay and San Francisco Bay. So behind the scenes, Carol Vandermeer from the Humboldt Bay Group put in a lot of effort, and Karen Underwood and Kim Setmore did a lot of heavy lifting for the board and to pull this all together. Reese Hughes is, as you well know, is probably our volunteer trail stewards guru. He helped pull all the video clips together and quite a bit of things. Michael Kaufman was our technical producer, and Juan Carrillo was very helpful with technical support from Humboldt Access. So we think it was a big success. We're planning another one for the next National Trail Days, which is June 5th this coming year. And we do have the Sequoia Conference Center reserved, but we're thinking it's probably going to end up being another Zoom practice for us. But if it comes off as well as last year, I think it'll be great. So I will pass this on to Emily for a local update.
Thank you, Bruce. So I'm Emily Sinkhorn with Redwood Community Action Agency, and thank you so much for inviting me here to join your meeting, and have really appreciated all of the work the Trails Council has done, and some of the updates I'll share today are being led and implemented by our local jurisdictions and also some of our Caltrans and some of our other local organizations, but just kind of wanted to give a brief overview of some local trail updates. So going to be sharing a screen here real quick. Great, so I just wanted to at least have some trails on a rough map so we can kind of see how things connect. And so I kind of zoomed into the Humboldt Bay area and just want to give in red our existing trails, the Arcata Humboldt Bay Trail North and the Arcata City Trail, and then the Eureka Waterfront Trail. And as we all have been really excited for the completion of the final 4 miles, the county has completed the 60% designs for that trail, and is now in the right-of-way process and has acquired some right-of-way already needed for the trail, and will continue to do so this next year. And the county hopes to break ground on construction next kind of summer or fall, and then with that construction being completed in 2022. So it's getting really close to having a connected 14 miles of trails through Eureka and connecting into Arcata. I'm going to zoom down towards Eureka, and so in these lines in purple are trails that are in development, have some funding that is moving them forward right now. And so the Beta Zoo Trail, the city of Eureka is hoping to connect the Eureka Waterfront Trail near Target and the Shoreline RV Park up towards the Sequoia Park. As the Eureka Waterfront Trail is a wonderful trail, it connects to many things, but it doesn't have easy connections to most neighborhoods in Eureka. The trail underpass under 101 has been huge for people being able to have a safe crossing of 101. But right up from there, the Beta Zoo Trail would head up this second slough and cross Myrtle Avenue and pass by Zane Middle School, also providing hopefully a safe route to school, and heading towards Harris, and this really recreation destination of Sequoia Park and the zoo and ball fields in this part of Eureka. And the city has the funding to work on the environmental documentation and the preliminary designs for this section of trail. And then this green line is kind of is not at all a line and more of a like connect the dots, as the city hopes to have a vision for a loop trail that would really circumnavigate the city and connect even more neighborhoods. And so this is a trail that is just an idea that the city hopes to pursue to connect from the Sequoia Park area to the Hickshari Trail in South Eureka. The city of Eureka has submitted an active transportation program grant for the Beta Zoo Trail just just about a month ago. And the active transportation program is one of the main walking, biking, trail funding sources that we have available, from state and federal funds. And that cycle kind of comes out every 2 years. And so we'll talk about some other submissions from our region, but we should hear about the recommendations from those grants in about mid-February. So then further south, a really key connection from Humboldt Hill and Spruce Point to get into Eureka proper would be the extension of the Hickshari Trail south. And the city of Eureka has funds to make this happen, and they're hoping to pair that with restoration of this kind of lower Elk River area as well. And the exciting thing is that it will likely involve a collaboration with Caltrans to have a separated trail on this overpass that gets you from south or from both directions of 101 over to Spruce Point and Humboldt Hill. And while the rail line is over here, also the city of Eureka owns this area that's south of Elk River with a right-of-way that can make a trail more probably more sustainable than where the rail line is. And I think Mike or Karen showed a picture of one of those of walking along that area. So then I'm gonna head north and zoom in here on the Annie and Mary Trail. And again, the Annie and Mary Trail has been envisioned to connect Arcata to Blue Lake and has been envisioned since the late 90s. And the Friends of the Annie and Mary Trail has really been leading this effort with advocacy and outreach and also fundraising. And but like the Humboldt Bay Trail, it is being developed in phases and also by different jurisdictions. So it's a multi-jurisdictional process. And this segment that is in green, the city of Arcata has undergone a planning study that really got community input on trail alignment and other factors. And then the city submitted a ATP, Active Transportation Program grant in September. And this would connect from the Arcata Skate Park through North Arcata, connecting Valley West, neighborhood that is cut off currently from the rest of the city by 101 and 299. Connecting to Valley West with walking, biking improvements on Giantoli Lane over 299, but then continuing out of city limits and connecting to the Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District's Park 1 on the Mad River. The city really heard that community members would love a safe walking, biking connection to the river. And West End Road is very narrow and winding, not very accommodating for families. So that could be a new phase of the Annie and Mary Trail. Also, over in green is the county collaborated with Caltrans District 1 for this phase of the Annie and Mary Trail that would go from City of Blue Lake city limits and then be along the North Coast Railroad Authority Annie and Mary line for a short bit, cross under 299 in an existing underpass, and then be in the 299 corridor well separated from the highway to get to Glendale and the Murphy's Market that is located there. And again, that was submitted as a proposal to the ATP program. So we would hear in February. And then most exciting is the city of Blue Lake has nearly finished construction of phase 1 of the Annie and Mary Trail. A half mile through the city of Blue Lake, a great new bridge. I can't wait to check it out here soon and for everyone to be excited about this first phase of a multi-phase project. And there, once these two segments are funded and implemented, you can really starting to look at and also a complicated segment of crossing the Mad River and connecting those two segments. And next, want to zoom into the Little River area. And this is a project that is north of McKinleyville, just north of Clam Beach, and would connect the Clam Beach Crenell Road overpass to the Moonstone Beach area, or the south end of Scenic Drive, south of Trinidad and West Haven. And it's currently a section of highway that's 65 miles an hour and is the only public road along the coast here. So people are, often people are biking up to Trinidad on the weekend. It's also where pedestrians are allowed on this section of highway because it's the only way to cross the river, the Little River. And for many years, RCA partnered with local community members to pursue completion of the Little River Trail. And after kind of numerous studies trying to figure out who could be the lead agency for this trail, a collaboration was formed with Caltrans District 1, where RCA has received grant funding from the State Coastal Conservancy to lead the environmental documentation and preliminary designs for the Little River Trail, but in collaboration with Caltrans, as they would be the implementing agency for the design and right-of-way and construction phases, and would also be the manager of this trail. And so the preliminary design and environmental work is happening right now, happening this fall, and will continue through 2021. And there will be community outreach starting in 2021. So I'm going to zoom back to around the bay again. And the Manila Trail is another collaboration between Caltrans and our local community. And that's that the county's been leading the Manila Trail between Pacific and just north of Carlson Drive, which would be about a 3/4 of a mile segment of multi-use trail within the Highway 255 right-of-way. And this project is moving along well, and the county plans to go to construction next year. And even if this segment looks like it's floating in the middle of Manila, it will serve transportation needs, recreation needs in Manila, but can also be kind of this first segment of trail that could eventually connect Manila to Arcata. So I know I'm running close to time, but I want to zoom down to Fortuna. And before kind of zooming, the region and HCOG and the county has had a higher level vision to really connect from Eureka to College of the Redwoods. And that can be something where, with the passage of the Great Redwood Trail Act and further rail banking, would make a lot more feasible to be able to utilize some of the existing rail corridor south connecting Eureka to CR. Fortuna is pursuing the John Campbell Parkway Trail that would really connect their wonderful river walk through town and towards the really burgeoning recreation area at Newburgh Park. They are currently working on a pump track for bikes over there. There's new trails with a new community center. So really looking at connecting those recreation areas, the river to Newburgh Park. And then if anyone has not yet been on the Dennis Wendt Memorial Trail, this is sort of a different model for trail development within the NCRA rail corridor. And that has been led by the River Life Foundation. And they have really worked with houseless individuals that were living along the Eel River and working to get them resources and housing and services, while at the same time thinking of improving the sort of physical image down by the river and being able to have a safe place for families to recreate and to connect some of these neighborhoods that are near Fortuna, but the only way to get there is on 101. And so this is a gravel trail within the rail corridor, and the River Life Foundation is hoping to connect to Fernbridge at some point here soon as well. And that's been a lot of volunteer work and a lot of community members work to make that happen. A couple of things I didn't touch on is just the McKay Community Forest. The county in this next year will be completing their trail plan and to continue working with the California Conservation Corps, hopefully for more trail work. And then that will eventually be a place where community members can volunteer with the volunteer trail stewards to help make trails happen in the McKay. So that is a brief update, and thank you very much for your time.
Wow. Well, thank you, Emily. It's fascinating to hear all the possibilities that are already in the works. So I will wind the meeting down, talking about just a few upcoming events. Before that, I just wanted to mention slate of officers. We have identified our officers for 2021, and that would be myself, Michael Proul as president, Bruce Sylvie as vice president, Karen Underwood as secretary, and Kemset Moore as treasurer. And these are all people who have served the council well in past years, and looking forward to another very good year next year. As to upcoming events, somebody has already mentioned that there will be no fundraising events, at least that are planned at this time, just deemed as necessary given the conditions and the need for social distancing. We do want to plan a VTS recognition event, and we're still hoping that we can do that in 2021. We're overdue, and the VTS program is kind of the workhorse of the Humboldt Trails Council. So we're really hoping that we can do whatever we can to support and recognize and celebrate the people who are doing all the work on the trails. So hopefully 2021 will allow us to have some sort of recognition event for all the volunteers who work on the trails. I also wanted to mention, I think Renee mentioned it during her report, that we are recruiting new trail coordinators. We just had a transition from one trail coordinator to another on the Hickshari Trail. We are looking in near future to another transition on one of the Eureka trails, and there will be new trails opening up when the McKay Community Forest comes on board, and then when the final 4 is completed. So all of those will require VTS programs with a trail coordinator. So if this is something of interest to you, feel free to contact us and find out if you want to serve as a trail coordinator. Along the same lines, we're also recruiting for the board of directors. And again, one of the characteristics we're looking for is diversity of board members. So along with our racial equity statement, we're trying to be mindful of characteristics of board members and diversity amongst the board, as well as other aspects of our operations. I think that's all I needed to report. I wanted to do a quick poll. So at this point, I would invite everybody to make your video visible. And again, I believe you can do that by going to the upper right-hand corner of your screen and clicking on the 3 dots, or clicking on View in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, and clicking on Show Self-View. So again, we'd like to look at everybody. So I'm going to switch to gallery view instead of speaker view. And everybody who's got a blacked out screen, I invite you to show your faces. The other thing I'd like to launch before we get to the question and answer period is a poll. So I am launching this poll that has 2 questions regarding trails. So hopefully and consists just of 2 questions. Which one is your favorite trail, and how often do you use trails? And I'll wait a little bit while the votes are counted.
Where's the all of the above option?
What are the what options?
Where is the all of the above option?
I decided not to do that one. Wow. Okay. So far, the voting is in favor of the Arcata Community Forest. Okay, we have about half of the people have voted at this point.
I signed on too late.
Yes, 1G.
Darn it.
Let's see. Up there.
It's Coast Humboldt Bay Trail Council or Humboldt Trails Council. Annual meeting started at 6.
Yeah. Michael, this is Tom Schallert. I can't find the voting, but I use the Hammond Trail every day.
Oh, every day, okay.
Yeah,
I wonder why the polling is not showing up for you.
yeah, I'm an amateur with it's an 11-year-old computer, so I
Oh,
can't even get gallery. So
okay. So, yeah,
sorry about my black screen the whole time.
some of it may be the computer functioning.
Or it could be operator error, which is what my back is.
Okay.
It always worked well when I worked at the blood bank. It always worked well there because I had really good and competent IT help.
Okay, I'm
Now
not seeing any new votes on the poll, so I'm going to close it now. And I will just mention that from McKinleyville Land Trust, it shows 13% of the people who voted prefer that trail, 13% for the Hammond Trail, 13% for Freshwater Farms, 50% for Arcata Community Forest, 13% for the Bay Trail North.
Yeah, ISD or something.
In terms of the question about how often people hike, 88% of people say they hike 2 to 3 times weekly, and 13% say they hike even more frequently than that. So all of you are getting out there. So with that, I'd like to open this up so that anybody can turn on their audio and ask a question of any of the presenters, or just a general question for us to figure out who will answer.
I have one for Hank. I just rode from Arcata to McKinleyville a couple of days ago on the Hammond Trail. And there is no signage, no signs at all. If you don't know where it is, you'll never find it. Also, Miller Lane is really bad shape. Are there any plans to repave that and throw on some Hammond Trail this way sign?
I don't know if anyone else has an answer to that question.
Well, it's county property. I checked.
Keep moving. That's the way you execute a midnight snap. Stand up to cancer and rally. Want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to Take a Health.
Okay, so somebody's audio is broadcasting a TV thing, I think.
Mary Mahoney,
Yes.
your audio is coming through. If you can mute yourself to speak, that would be helpful for the rest of the meeting participants.
So did anybody have a response to Karina? Because it's certainly something we need to be looking at if we don't have a response.
Michael, if I may, I could respond to Corinna.
Great.
On the signs, I can commit to take a look at whether there's needs to enhance the directional signage for the Hammond Trail. So I know that definitely the road network there gets confusing, and especially for first-time riders, I could see where it'd be quite confusing. You know, the paving is a harder one. Paving is really expensive, and we have to prioritize roads based on usage primarily. But based on your comment, and you know, I also get that feedback from others, I can just report back to our road maintenance division that, you know, they should also factor in the amount of bicycle usage on that road and factor that into the prioritization for considering about paving. So I'll report that back.
Thank you, Hank.
Thank you. Yeah, the rest of the roads are okay, but Miller Lane, it's in, like I said, really bad shape, which have.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
This is Tom Shallard. Is Hank still available?
Yes, he's here. He's muted at the moment.
Hank, Tom Shallard, I've been volunteering on the Hammond Trail for 10 years, and your crew does a spectacular job in keeping us volunteer stewards moving forward. But there's a couple of places on the trail between Hiller Park all the way out past all the way back up to Murray Road, where the trail is starting to fall off, or tree branches or tree roots have raised the thing up. I saw a major sprawl by a couple of bikers going on the Hammond Trail not too long ago. They hit the tree roots and went flying. Of course, they probably were riding their bicycles too fast with other walkers on the trail, but that's another issue. So I just alert you to that. I think, Mike Orr and Jason have probably let you know about those issues, but I just wanted to, as a 10-year volunteer, I just wanted to let you know that, I've seen that, and I saw that one bad accident. The guy actually survived the sprawl, and I was amazed because he had, fortunately, had a bike helmet on and so forth. So there's a couple of places, again, in that section that really need some attention, because, you're speeding along on your bike, and you can hit those things, pretty easily. So just a heads up.
Great. Tom, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I will follow up with that. And maybe just while we're on the Hammond Trail, I wanted to report quickly that we've been receiving a lot of complaints about the fence on the Hammond Bridge. And that's a really challenging spot because of the vandalism. And people bring wire cutters and different tools to cut the fence so they can get out on the bridge and do painting. And so we are looking at totally replacing that fence. The intent is actually to replace it with a shorter fence that provides the protection that trail users need. And if people who want to do painting and tagging, they can actually climb over the fence and not have to cut through it. So that's our kind of cost-effective solution for that. It's still going to cost probably almost $12,000 to replace that fence.
Holy Toledo.
But hopefully we'll have that done by the end of the year.
Well, as Mike may have told you, I have cleaned thousands of graffiti tags off the signs and posts, and Reese has seen all that too. Where there's over 10 years, number of tags. It's just amazing how many of them are, and sometimes they're starting to write them right on the asphalt. So it's crazy, but if I see it, I remove it. So, and I appreciate the support I've gotten from Mike and Jason and et cetera.
Terrific.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tom.
Any further questions or comments?
Oh, yes. I just wanted to quickly congratulate Hank on the 2 parcels.
Oh,
on the
yes.
Bay Trail.
This is progress. Okay, anything further? Thank you all for attending. The board members will now move on to a board meeting following the annual meeting. But thank you for the participants for dropping in and visiting us and learning what's happening with the Humboldt Trails Council. And thank you for supporting us. So, good night.
Good night.